What's going on, duelists? ThePokeRapper here, Anthony Pasquarello for those of you who know me in real life. Yesterday was the highly anticipated Edison 3v3 tournament at Phantasm Gaming. Huge shout out to them. Best card shop in Connecticut, I would say. Friends of mine and good people. Huge shout out to Billy, someone who entered the scene only a few years ago, was playing Modern for a long time, but just came into Edison. Him and I have become good friends, and just really pushing for Edison and just all over the community, and really, I feel like pushed this tournament single-handedly by himself. Phantasm hosted it wonderfully. He did a great job promoting it. I haven't played in a tournament in a while, honestly. I play a little bit online under my alt, but I'm not really in a serious, competitive mood to play in any serious tournaments, but my best friends and old teammates convinced me to, they're like, if they're doing a 3v3, we all got to do it. I said, alright, I'm not going to say no to that. Especially Edison, when we played Chris, one of the Blackwing Kings, Randall, one of the best players ever, both of them, my testing partners, my best friends, they just taught me so much about the game, and the fact that Chris got to play Blackwings, Randall got to play Heroes. He was always a great Little City player, and I decided to take a shot with one of my favorite decks of all time, Lightsworn. Got my first regional tops ever with Lightsworn, and I said, I was testing Blackwings, I was testing Frogs, Hero Frogs, but the hate is just so real for those decks right now. I think the Blackwing Mirror match is really tough. I think the hate for it is definitely there, and I think the hate for Frogs is even crazier, and the popularity of Frogs is making it so everybody really needs to just side a lot of hate for them. I didn't feel comfortably playing either one, so I said, let me make a meta call, and also a call that is near and dear to my heart with playing Lightsworn. This is the ad for the promotion for the tournament, and here we are. Here's the list that I used. Actually not very similar. It is this. I think this is Rulers, the Edison World Tournament, LR2245. Huge shout out to you. This is a nice Lightsworn list. I normally always play 2 Beckoning, 2 Threatening Roar. I think you gotta go with the times a little bit. Trap cards are good. Dust Shoot's insane. People may not be expecting Torrential and Mirror Force in Lightsworn. I think it makes it a little uneasy for the going games, because they might actually keep MST and Heavy and possibly Dust Tornadoes in, but for a lot of the matches, Decree would come in, and I don't know if I got mixed up with another list, but I had a very similar side deck to this, before I jump into what I played, which is literally this list. Again, huge shout out to LR2245. This is a nasty Lightsworn list, and this is what I ran. The night before the tournament, because I was testing it with no Torrential and 2 Threatening Roars, decided to put Torrential back in. Sometimes I think, sometimes you want to summon a Lightsworn and set Threatening, but sometimes you're just in a situation where you don't have any monsters and Threatening Roar is doing nothing for you. I said, you know what, Torrential really is one of the best power cards. I put it in the night before again, and I do not regret that at all. I think I was running Chaos Sorcerer for a while. I don't know why I got mixed up between the Lightsworn lists, but at some point I took it out of the side deck, thinking that a lot of people are going to bring in Oppression, right? So we're trying to avoid special summons as much as possible, even though we could pop it with Raikou and Heavy and MST and Decree and whatnot. I think Chaos Sorcerer is a really good card, and I kind of did miss it yesterday, but ultimately decided to not run it. This is my side deck. Extra deck, won't go into it, too much. The only thing here is no reason for Arcanite. Probably an old list of mine, do not know why. There's actually 0 ways to make this card. So this easily could have been a second Chimera tech, which would have been, I think I actually did run a second Chimera tech, but I don't know what's, maybe it was in real life. Yeah, maybe this is actually a second Chimera tech, because I remember putting 2 in there. So for continuity purposes, here's the list. We'll save it. I would maybe change the side deck a little bit, but yes, nice Lightsworn list. High risk, high reward. Not a lot of decks, can deal with just slamming wolves off the mill. You draw recharge pretty frequently at 3, which is nice, and my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card of all time, I think it's safe to say, is Judgment Dragon. Honest is insane. Yeah, we know what Lightsworn does, right? I don't really need to go into the list too much, but I will go into my teammates' lists. Starting with, I was player A. We'll go to Randy's list as player B. In a 3v3 setting, we had 10 teams. I'll get into that after. Randall was player B, I was player A. This is another a hero list that's similar to another hero list that I did not find for the most part. I think Randall made some changes here, and also all the one-ofs in the side deck I really, really like. Randall's a nasty player, and this is the type of deck where he can benefit from because he will just pick his opponent apart every chance he gets. I think Skill Drain is an amazing card right now, and I think it got him very far. There I am. I mean, how is this not my favorite card, right? It has to be. Maybe Ryle is my favorite card, but JD is up there. Only 2 Miracle. This is really hero beat, right? No divas in here. Snowmen instead. 19 traps, 2 Hero Blast, 2 Miracle, 3 Spark. This is just the type of deck that you're just beating. You got some tricks up there. You got a Karma Cut in there. I think that's a really nice card. You got a couple tricks with the draw traps. Skill Drain's insane, and then all your stuff to take care of your opponent's monsters. Little protection, no overkill. We got Future Fusion. Very cool list. I think Skill Drain is a very, very good card, and I really want to play this deck going forward now because I was just watching him play a little bit with it, and although Lightsworn gives it a very hard time, I think this deck gives a hard time to a lot of the meta. Hard matchup for Blackwings to play against, and I think a hard matchup for a lot of decks simply because of Skill Drain to play against. Side deck, read and weep, baby. One of everything. A little something for everything. I don't think we have to go into too much detail about everything. It all makes sense. The one-ups are good. Thinking about a second Kaiku, I think with the Skill Drain and the other stuff he has in there wasn't super necessary. And yeah, I really, really like this list. And now we're going to go to Chris's Blackwing list. Chris absolutely ran things with Teldad and Blackwings. Back in the day, I would say those are his 2 decks. This deck even more so than Teldad. And he recently changed his list to include a second Vayu. Personally, I can't. I get it. A second Vayu is good. You get, whittling down the whirlwind searches. You summon Blizzard. Vayu's already gone. Boom, there's a second one. But now you have a second Vayu draw. But I think big brain, good Blackwing players can get away with playing 2 Vayu and making it work. The spiciest card is Swallow's Nest, right? This is a pretty standard Blackwing build, but we got Swallow's Nest, which I think is a very flying under the radar card, I guess. Just a card that's not really played, but this is a really techie, savvy. Blackwings need to stick to the field, and my opponent knows that, is doing everything they can to stop it. I have a surprise ace in my pocket to get out of that. I think this is a really cool card. Almost cut it, he said, but ended up leaving it and got to live a very hype moment with it in, I think it was top 4. The rest of the list is pretty standard. 1 Compulse in the main deck. I think this is a good tech choice too. I think 3 Deep Prison, Bottomless. I miss Mind Control a lot. This is, I stick to my Blackwing list, but again, maybe I just need to get with the times, right? Deck Devi in the main, Compulse in the main. You got your power cards, triple Deep Prison. Pretty standard. I'm gonna come out and say to all the Blackwing players and Vayu players, I think more so for Blackwings, I think Deck Devi is a card that can get you in a lot of trouble. I think it forces you to do plays because you see it and the pressure and the excitement comes to you like, oh, I can resolve Deck Devi. Oh, I'm going to destroy my opponent, get all the information. And sometimes it makes you do stuff that are not optimal and you just waste some cards and maybe the payout's not as good as you were expecting. The knowledge is always great, but sometimes what can you do if you see some Caius or something and they have Treeborn coming back? Something, I know it's good against basically everything but heroes, and not a lot of people are playing heroes. So, again, good meta call for Randall playing heroes. And I think this is top 5 best cards in Edison format, and I think good players playing other decks, knowing that their opponents who are going to side in deck Devi, I think they're going to side out little guys as much as possible to avoid, getting hit by this. So maining it is something, but I think this is a really tricky card that you have to play properly, otherwise it could hurt you. But aside from that, yeah, I think this has some cool stuff going on in here. I think I miss Mind Control the most. Yeah, side deck, Trap Stun, got him a long way. This is a crazy card in the mirror match. Really, really good card. I think I miss Oppression in the main, but get with the times tone. We side 2 now. Side another Compulse deck Devi. He was explaining to me just all the stuff that Compulse can do. There's a lot of tricky plays you can do with it by summoning Shura, specialing Gale, having one monster, compulsing your Gale back, specialing again, having a second monster, running over. Just a bunch of weird instances where this card can not only just get rid of a synchro or a powerful card on your opponent's side of the field, but you could actually do it with your own stuff in the mirror match and in other matches. Really, really good card. I love Compulsory, so I respect that. Yeah, pretty good. This is a spicy-ass card for Frogs. The Frog hate is real. The Frog hate is real. Loves this card. He was telling me how much he loves this. I mean, it shuts off Pot of Avarice, too. It gets rid of all the machines everywhere. It doesn't target. It just is pay 1,000, boom, all their machines are gone. And they probably just lost a bunch of Pot of Avarice targets, too. So, yeah, pretty standard build besides the spice. And, yeah, those are it for the deck lists. Fortunately, by the way, we were able to win the tournament, and I guess I will go into that now. So it was 3v3 Edison format, Phantasm Gaming, started at noon. 10 teams showed up, $60 per team, so $20 per person. 10 teams showed up. A bunch of players came from New York, good players I recognized from way back in the day. Got to meet some new players. All the teams looked pretty solid. It seemed like it was a very good competitive showing. 4 rounds with 10 teams cut to top 4. 45-minute rounds. You got player A, player B, player C. Player B can communicate with either player next to them, but player A can only communicate with B, and C can only communicate with B. A and C cannot talk to each other, which I thought was a little weird, but I guess that's how it is. So, what am I going to say? I'm not going to argue. So, let's go through the rounds. Let's go through the teams, and let's go through some of the rounds now, shall we? Some of the teams. John Wick showing up with Scully. That was a crazy team, and Igor was on that team too. All friends and amazing players from back in the day. Local teams, Billy who set up everything, Alex Shea, that's a crazy team. We had, I don't know if he goes by HM04 online, that's his Smash name. Tony, another local team with friends, Matt Lino. A lot of New York teams got to see Pro Weight. Yesterday, actually played Pro Weight in bracket, which was crazy. He got more hugs than anyone else, actually, yesterday, out of all the people that I saw. New friends from New York that I just introduced themselves to me yesterday that I was fortunate enough to meet yesterday. They came down. Shout out to Vincent. It was really nice meeting you. Thank you for all the kind words about the channel, and thank you for all the support. It was really nice meeting you, and always really makes my day when someone comes up to me and says that they enjoy my content and that it's helping them become a better player. It really is. It warms my heart, man. It really does. Old New York friends, couple different teams. Jamal's team, Carl Waite's team, Oxymore and Minato Boy, they had a team. I forget who the 10th team was, but yeah, on paper, the teams looked very formidable, and we knew it was going to be a pretty crazy tournament. So round 1, we actually played a team from New York. I played very aggressively. Game 1, I'm not going to lie, my opponent went T-set. I'm like, that's a Raikou. Summon Arcus attack. It was Treeborn. It's like, alright, I'm not going to do anything else. That back row can't target. That Treeborn's locked in the grave. We're good. They go draw, set another monster. I go draw, summon Aaron. We're cooking right. Torrential. Ooh, so minus. And then I got Mirror Forced for another +1 a couple turns later. It was aggressive of me. Very aggressive, and I don't normally play like that, but yesterday, and I'm playing Lightsworn, I said, I'm gonna go a little harder today. it was the early rounds, and I felt like taking a couple chances. I got punished. It wasn't very smart of me to play like that. But I'm, anyone who watches my content knows I'm not the kind of player to slam all my guards. I really like to pick apart my opponent when I can and gain advantages in any little way that I can and get knowledge however I can. I also notice I talk a lot in person. Always just trying to keep the mood light and friendly, but still, competitive and still trying to win and get the job done and whatnot. Sometimes I'll turn it on, when I see the opening to be aggressive, but I'm not normally the type of player to play a high risk, high reward kind of deck. But Lightsworn's one of my favorite decks of all time. I pulled a Judgment Dragon back in the day and still have it after all these years, so to be able to play it again, I was like, Lightsworn to me is like before it even came out, when I saw it in when it got released in Japan, and I was looking at the deck list like, oh, so it sends cards from the deck to the grave, and and then there's this one, and I was like so young. That was like 2008, so I was like 16, and I saw Judgment Dragon. I was like, yo, I'm going to play this deck. And then I had success with it. And now after all these years, it's literally 2025 and I'm getting to play Lightsworn. Like, that's crazy. So I said, I'm going to play it today. I'm not going to go crazy with it. Went a little crazy with the aggressiveness, but then, turned it down, unfortunately. So we lose game one, and then in game two, I had a JD on field. I had one coming off Gold Sark. I had Necro Engrave. I had Gores. My opponent had a million cards in hand, but their life was low, and I knew the game was going to be over. And unfortunately, during all that, both Randall and Chris lost their matches. Randall drew horrendously game one, so much so that his opponent, Randall didn't play any monsters, so his opponent didn't know what he was playing, so he sided in Consecrated Light, thinking that he was playing Black Wings because there were so many back rows, and Randall's like, I'm playing heroes. You side in Consecrated Light against heroes. Unfortunately, game three, he couldn't pull it out. Chris couldn't pull it out, so I finished game two. We wanted to see how the rest of the match was going to play out. My opponent was playing Diva Frogs. Probably should have mentioned that. Haven't seen another Diva Frog player in a very long time. Game three, I thought I was behind, but then, even after time was called and even after, we already reported that we had lost, so they put the new pairings up, and we just had to go play round two. So he showed his hand. He drew for turn, actually drew a second Mermaid Archer, and he had a Diva play coming up, and that was literally the worst card he could have drawn, so I really don't know who was going to win that game. When I saw that second Archer, I was like, actually, I think I have a good chance now, but I guess we'll never know. So round one, we lost individually. I don't know, which is very weird, but it is what it is. Round two, we played some local friends. Unfortunately, I lost game one, but fortunately enough, Chris and Randall both won their matches, so I won game two, and then there was a nice crowd watching game three, and I had a JD coming off a Gold Sark with a bunch of Lightsworns Engrave, and then I got hit with a Soul Release, and then I might have been under... No, I wasn't under Deck Devi, but maybe I was too. I was kind of hurting, but yeah, I drew a card, and then I was able to Reincarnation. I think it was a Jane or an Arcus or something, and then the following turn, he knew I had Gores. Yeah, it must have been under Deck Devi, and then he had two Boras, but he couldn't attack. I think I went Arcus, attack one, Honest, go. He goes draw. Then he had the second Bora. He is following all this. Bora attack. Second one couldn't attack. I went draw, Cyber Dragon attack, and fortunately in game three I was able to squeak it out. So clean sweep there, pretty nice. Round three, we played against Pro Wait's team. I actually got to play against Pro Wait. He was also player A. I think that was another one where Chris and Randall both won. So, and I wasn't playing slow by any means, but their matches were just finishing before mine. So I'm like, alright. Turn one, I got a couple really good pluses of game one, and then dropped a JD on my first turn, swung for 3,000. And then my opponent sets Karma Cut and does it in the standby, so I lose the JD, and I start to watch the game slip away a little bit, and him build momentum and finally get that Stratos and have more back row, and I couldn't believe that. This is a really good matchup against Hero Beat. Also, round two, I played Black Wings, by the way. I played against Black Wings. Sorry. I'm trying to get through all this as efficiently as possible, but yeah, so round 1, Diva Frog, round 2, Black Wings, round 3, Hero beat basically the same list as Randall's, and we tested the night before, so I was pretty prepared, I thought. He starts grinding it back. I'm like, man, I can't believe I'm going to lose this game 1. This is super unfortunate. Even with a good matchup, I don't want to give a good player like him game 1. Fortunately enough, towards the end, he Karma Cut again and targeted my Lumina instead of my Plague Spreader that I special summoned from the grave, and because of that, I was able to make Goyo and just keep taking his monsters, and he never recovered from that. So we got out of that safely. Game 2, I was just ahead again, gained some nice advantage early on, and then towards the end, he had a couple Thunder Kings, but I had an Honest in defense mode as a wall. I had 2 JDs in hand, so I turned an Honest to attack. I attacked one, I dropped Honest, I bounced it back, I set it, he went, and then I just, next turn, just showed him everything I had, and he was like, yeah, you got it. And so the team was 2-1, I was 2, and who knows what the round 1 would have been. Round 4, we got paired up rounds 2 and then round 4 because we were X1 and we played against Team Rampage of old, which was Scully, Igor, and John Wick's team. They were undefeated. They were kind enough to give us the win to ensure that we also topped. And knowing that if they gave us the win, either one of us was going to be the 1 seed or the 2 seed, and we weren't going to play each other into the finals because it's 1 plays 4 and 2 plays 3. So we're like, all right, we both get in. Thank you guys very much. It's very nice of you. And so we make top cut. We have to rematch against our friends from round 2. So I had to play against Black Wings again. And this one was pretty one-sided game 1 and even more one-sided game 2 where Lightsworn just really did its thing. Game 2, turn 1, I think he mirror forced one of my monsters after I summoned an attack. He went draw, summoned Shura, attack. I took it, went draw, set consecrated, go. He attacked the consecrated. I went draw, set another consecrated, set decree. He went draw, set a monster, set 2 back row. I flipped decree. He even called it. He was a uniflip decree, and that was it. After that, it was just summon Lila, attack over the set. It was Bora. I had Honest in hand, Celestia. It was just, there was Consecrated Light and Royal Decree. There was like nothing. He was turns away from a fissure, but before he could draw it, the game was just over. That was like probably the biggest blowout of the day because Consecrated and Royal Decree are just such floodgate cards. I think Randall lost his match, and Chris had an unbelievable Sirocco top deck, while his Black Wing opponent had Armed Wing in attack mode, Kalut in defense, and Chris goes draw with a Whirlwind with only a value in his hand. We're at the nitty-gritty now. Top deck Sirocco, summons it, searches Bora, specials it, uses the effect on Bora. That's 37, that's 6, that's 74, and swung over the Kalut, and his opponent had a Whirlwind and 2 back rows. Chris read that one of them was a road. Didn't know what the other one was, but had to take a shot, right? Because what else are you going to do? Ended up being a deck Devi that he couldn't do anything with, and he literally hit a Kalut for 64 when his opponent was at 6. So craziest clutch moment. We make it to finals. Team Rampage of old that gave us the win in round 4. Got the rematch, got to actually play against them in the finals. I had to play against a good friend of mine, Scully. He has taught me an immense amount of stuff for GOAT format. Now, he did one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. And this is so big brain, but so risky. Turn 1, he's playing Value Turbo. The whole team was playing Value Turbo. He goes, turn 1, set a monster, set 2 back row. I go draw, recharge another one. I have 3 Lightsworns engraved and JD in hand. I go summon Arcus, attack. He mirror forces. And I go Judgment Dragon. He goes Royal Oppression. And I'm like, oh, you said Mirror Force, Royal Oppression, turn 1. Now, he is a fantastic player. So he knows that sometimes you gotta do crazy stuff against good players. And I think he recognized that. He goes, his hand was like Greffer, Arm Knight, Mirror Force Oppression. I think there are so many ways you could play that, but he took a really scenic route. Like, out of left field, like I'm gonna mess with old Tone right now real good, and yeah, it paid off. I mean, I think I didn't have Raikou or Lila, so I think I'm still losing to Oppression regardless. He goes draw, flip Greffer, summon Arm Knight, and game 1 was lost because of Oppression, definitely. But he played it very goofy, I will say, but it paid out, and of course that sucks for me. It is what it is. It was well played, and yeah, he won game 1. So game 2, it was going back and forth a little bit, and then he had a couple back row. I think I was ahead for the most part, but he was hanging in there, and then he set 2 back row, and I topped that gold Sark, and Sarked for a heavy, and then just waited the 2 turns, and there wasn't much action those 2 turns, and then heavied in Judgment Dragon, and took game 2 pretty nicely. Game 3, I opened Wolf, double DD Crow. I regret I was contemplating taking out the second Crow and just leaving in 1, and I was like, no, it's good against value, let me do it. So I don't know if I regret it, but I definitely had the thought that maybe I should only be playing 1, and yeah, I opened with 2 and a Wolf. He decked heavied me very early on. I tried to do some trickery to get out of the plays before that, but yeah, I got decked heavied, and then I chained both Crows, and then I was just like pretty behind, and then a couple turns later I got hit with the Armed Wing and the Dark Arm, and it was just, there was not a lot I could do, and I didn't want to lose it all yesterday. Unfortunately, I did lose that match. Randall won his match before I lost mine, so that was good. So then it all came down to Chris, who was playing a Shonen Jump champion in John Wick. Insane GOAT player, all the flowers for him, just unbelievable. And I'm watching, edge of my seat, I can't say nothing. Randall and him are talking, Igor and John Wick are talking about the plays, and Chris was so ahead at game 1. So ahead, I think he went like Whirlwind Sirocco, Bora, Gale, make Stardust after the pump, attack with a 5,000 Bora, and he flipped with only a set monster. It was a Vayu, so he took 5,000. But John Wick, being one of the greatest ever, ended up resolving a Morphing Jar a couple turns later, and then OTKing Chris, which is a huge deflator. But Chris came back strong game 2 and just really blew him out, and this time ended up winning and not letting him do anything else, even though he tried resolving a Morphing Jar again. In game 3 was very intense. John Wick flipped Dust Shoot turn 1, saw Chris's hand, thought he was going to be in a good spot, but Chris had all the power cards. He had Blizzard, Brain Control, Heavy, and in just making some synchros, I turned away for a minute because I was talking to someone, and then when I came back, the board state was Chris's like Stardust with, I think, his Arm Knight that he took with a bottomless set, and Tango or John Wick only had like 2 cards in his hand, and I was like, wow, Chris is looking good. And he draws a Shura for turn, and this is where I think things could have got a little ugly. A lot has to go right to win a Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament. Cards have to get played correctly. You have to draw the right cards, play them side correctly, make the right, read what deck you're going to play, pilot it well, and hope that your opponents don't have all the right cards, or that they play them a certain way when they have them. And Chris attacked with an Armageddon Knight that he had taken with a Goyo. I believe I missed a little bit of it. And there was a point right there where Tango could have dropped Gores, but he didn't. And Randall was like, do not attack with the Shura. Do not attack. He had Armageddon Knight, Bottomless, Shura, and Stardust. And he goes, do not attack with the Shura. He doesn't, but if he had dropped that Gores right there, that Gores would have gotten over the Stardust Dragon next turn, and then he actually had Mirror Force in Morphing Jar too a couple turns later, so it was crucial that he didn't drop it right there. And then Chris topped a Compulse. He attacked with the Arm Knight, which in that situation, when you could get over a Gores token with another monster, you always want to attack with the second highest monster. So sure, could have attacked right there. He could have dropped Gores token, Stardust to kill the token. He attacked with the Arm Knight instead. Minor misplay. Is the damage going to be a big deal? It could. I'm always trying to advocate for the most optimal play, but I had to sit there and keep my mouth shut, which was so hard. Yeah, drops the Gores, Compulses at the next turn, and then I think Chris draws Allure. Doesn't play it, doesn't attack, doesn't do anything. And then next turn draws Allure, sets the Whirlwind, plays Allure, sees Mirror Force, sees Sirocco, banishes a Sirocco, sets the Mirror Force, attacks, Gores, gets dropped. tries to attack next turn with the Gores. Didn't have to. 25 defense wouldn't have gotten over a Stardust can't get over it. Didn't have to attack, but did. Gets Mirror Forced, sets Morphing Jar and Mirror Force. And I think that contradiction of having Gores in Morphing Jar when he couldn't drop the Gores if Jar was on the field because he'd send it, but he couldn't. He had to leave his board open. So after the Mirror Force on the Gores, it was just attack, and then that moment of yeah, you got it. And Team Crossfire, team assembled in 2007, reunited, two of my best friends, and we took the dub home. Got some pictures for everyone. Where are we? Here we are in finals. A lot of gaming going on right there. I think you see a little Judgment Dragon in my hand, I think, right there. Pro weight. That's the turnout. Great setup in the shop. Here we are. Look at us, man. Look at us all these years later. Not only getting to play the game that we love, a format that is unbelievable, but getting to play together on a team, and very fortunate enough to secure a win against some amazing opponents all day. It was a great turnout. I love these guys, man. Two of my best friends. Huge congrats to them, and thank you very much for being my teammates and my best friends so all these years. Thank you for teaching me so much about the game. They didn't see me snipe this picture of them, but I did. What the hell is this thing doing? Get out of here. Little fat, chubby little cat. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me make sure I'm not leaving anything out now. I really wanted us to get this win as a team, and I said after this I'm probably going to slow down and take more of a break from Yu-Gi-Oh! And focus on other things. But then you get a dub, and now I just want to play so much more and play more decks and different decks and just keep... Man, I'm a duelist at heart. I can't get that shit out of me. I just want to play all the time. I think I would change the side deck a little. Mask of Restrict, I think, is too good against frogs, and I needed that in there. Kaiku's really, really good right now. Great card. Consecrated MVP, Cyber Dragon, another MVP, Vortex, to help out against frogs and Amaryllis and Titanials and whatnot. MST being in the side is something that's interesting for me, but I love Cold Wave, and I love this deck. I love Lightsworn, and I'm very, very happy to finally have a first place finish, and, I don't know what you would call it, the Edison Reborn tournament instead of the Edison of old. I'm happy to finally have a win with this deck as well. So, congrats to Team Crossfire. Thank you guys very much for being my teammates and for doing as well as you did yesterday. You really showed up. And I'm going to, in separate videos, have deck profiles with them as well. I'm actually going to show my deck. Here we go. Alright, so here's my IRL deck. That Judgment Dragon I pulled out of a special edition. Oh, look at this, dude. Farting around with the camera. No good. No good. I even edited this in iMovie, too, to try to cut the ending a little bit. Alright, here we go. Pulled this from a special edition back in the day. Sniped a German first one a year or two ago. Ronak hooked me up with those Italian LODT Raikos. Little, some older stuff, some newer stuff. Tournament Pack Gareth. A lot of LODT, but a lot of newer hollow stuff too. Really want a Secret Aaron. I have one Secret Honest and one, go ultra rare one that I really want to match. Or just do one Ghost and one Secret. Fortunate to get the Ulti Plague. Love that card. My German Heavy. Shout out to Leon for hooking me up with the other Ultra Gold Sark I needed at the beginning of the day. Got my Solar Weeder Afladooms that I've had since I topped my regionals with them from way, way back when, 2008 probably, and the Trap lineup. 5 cards right here, and here was the prizing. The store was kind enough to add more to the prize pool because of how many teams showed up, so instead of one Caius, we actually ended up getting a Caius and a Snipe Hunter. Snipe Hunter goes for about $50, so instead of getting a $60 card, we got about $110 each worth of prizes. We each got a Caius, and a Champion Pack Snipe Hunter. Those are my trophies. And again, thank you to the team for letting me be a part of it. Thank you to Billy for promoting it. Thank you to Phantasm for holding it. Thank you to all the players who came. And thank you guys for watching so much. I appreciate it as always, and I will see you all in the next one.